On May the 7th, 1969, Bill Herzog founded this great company we call Herzog. Many things have changed throughout all these years. Herzog has steadily grown from a small regional asphalt company to a large national construction company, railroad maintenance and transit services provider. Technology now plays a large role in all aspects of our business. Herzog is not just a contractor and service provider, but a technology-based company. Bill Herzog created a family culture in the company he founded, which is still family-owned today. Bill's core values of safety, cost efficiency, quality, and integrity continue to be the driving force for Herzog's success. Bill is no longer with us today, but his legacy continues. Now we would like to share with you more about Bill Herzog and the incredible history of the company he founded.
When he came up, he lost his father at an early age. And actually, he was a brakeman on the railroad and got killed on the railroad. And very quickly after that, he lost his mother. So he effectively came up, I guess you could say he was an orphan, but he went to Brookfield, Missouri, and was raised there by a family that were not necessarily family, but they were very close.
He was mowing lawns when he was 13 years old. He worked in a shoe store. He worked his way through college. It made him very self-reliant, and to the life of me, I can't figure out how he developed the character he did, but he had a drive like no one had ever seen to succeed and to do it the right way, and he loved his family.
He first went to work in the construction industry for Fred Dawkins and the Land and Construction Company in St. Joseph. He became the general superintendent and vice president at Land. Fred Dawkins had always promised Bill Herzog that when the time came that he would make him the president and chief operating officer of Land Construction Company.
He was misled, and when that did not happen, he had always had the desire to run a company. So if it wasn't going to be that one, he was going to start his own.
I was in the service at that time in Germany and was granted 89 days early out from my military obligation. So that allowed me to get back to the United States in July of 1969. Shortly after he had incorporated the business. I got home that day, spent one night, went to the office, and he told me I was going to South Missouri to run a construction project as a superintendent the next day.
After a year or two, I got to be a superintendent. Traveled all over the state of Missouri doing paving jobs, and I just loved it. I remember getting up at, 4 o'clock every morning, putting on my boots, going out, getting road oil all over you and wash your hair with diesel fuel, whatever it took. But back then you were young, and there was a lot of us did that. And we ended up being the best there was.
Well, he was not only my father, but I was fortunate enough to have him become my mentor in the business side of my life. So I've been doubly blessed in that regard.
Bill took a bunch of kids. I was 22 years old when I went to work for him. And he taught us. And he had the patience to teach us.
I was young, I didn't have a lot of experience, but Bill had faith that, as he did in everyone, that we could get the job done.
He was just excellent at delegating, and not just delegating the job, but the responsibility. And I think that's part of the reason people have excelled with him, is that he allowed people to do that.
Bill's favorite word was probity, and he used that in the Saturday morning meetings quite a bit. And as you looked around the room, you could tell no one knew what that word meant. And I don't remember who or which Saturday meeting was, but finally someone said, "Bill, what's that mean?" And he looked at everybody, looked you straight in the eye, and he said, "It's honesty and integrity."
Bill was a very honest man, and he required that of his employees. Bill was very forgiving. He would allow people a lot of latitude, but being dishonest and not telling the truth was not acceptable to him.
You know, if we tell somebody what we're going to do, we do it. If a piece of equipment breaks down, we get the piece of equipment fixed. You know, and Bill instilled, you know, do what you say you're going to do and be honest about it. You know,
Bill had a way about him that when he spoke, people listened to him, they believed him, and they had a great deal of trust for the man. Fortunately, I got to know Bill. I realized that this guy was a leader. He was soft-spoken, but when he did speak, as I said, you listened to him. His words were full of wisdom, and his legacy continues. And it's almost like he's still here. He's still at the throttle. And a lot of that is because the folks that knew him won't let his legacy die. It will always continue.
Bill Herzog worried a lot about the downtime with an asphalt plant. So he got it in his head, I remember that railroad, he was thinking maintenance, yard maintenance, he was thinking about Quaker roads, all the little places around St. Joe. We could make some money doing that type of work. He'd just use these foremen, these lead guys, and make this money. So he went to a sale, seemed like it was in Oklahoma. He come back with a trunk totally full of the most antiquated old railroad tools, big old heavy tools, and he wanted to start railroad work.
We just thought we were offsetting overhead. We started making money at it. Well, what do we do next? Then we started expanding into new construction. So with the railroads today, their problems are our opportunities.
In 1977, when the first car topper was started, Herzog at that point had proven to the railroads that service was a very important part of our business, and we were going to do whatever it took.
the car topper, I mean, it launched this into the railroad business. I mean, it definitely did. We started unloading ties in, like say, in 1977, I believe it was, for the railroads, and that actually got us into the railroad business as of railroad service business.
When I first started, we had 35 car topper machines, and at our peak, we had 105 out working all across the country. So it grew rapidly.
We were getting into the railroad industry. We did the Tijuana trolley, which was a San Diego light rail between downtown San Diego and San Ysidro at the Tijuana border station. And that worked out well for us.
Our first transit job was in San Diego, California. I'll never forget, we were a successful bidder on this job. Once we did that, guess what? It gave us a resume, and then we expounded on that resume. Now, if you went and looked at ENR today, we will rank as far as transportation and transit in the top 10 in the country.
And probably one of the largest jobs that we have today is the Mid-Coast project, which is an extension of these early San Diego trolley projects that we were doing.
In January of 1992, we purchased SS Tech Company from Australia. They had a newer concept of technology for rail testing. They continued to use ultrasonic technology, however they had a high-speed chase vehicle system with it. And as they were wanting to get out of the market, the railroads were wanting somebody to take that over, and we were approached and we made a deal with the SS Tech Company. Rail testing is the insurance policy, if you will, for the railroads, in that rails deteriorate as wear develops on them through the axle loadings and tonnage. The more tonnage is over a section of rail, the more apt it is to become worn and fatigued, therefore developing internal defects. And without the rail testing industry, the railroads would be forced to run on rails until they broke.
In 1993, we were looking at the equipment maintenance and possibly the operations of the Tri-Rail commuter operation in South Florida. We won the project as Herzog Transit, and then we went on to win the next project, Trinity Railway Express, and we've been there for 20 years now.
We made the evolution. I always like to say, if you can build it, you can maintain it. Well, we went from just being a builder to a maintainer, and guess what? It's not that big a quantum leap to go operational. Well, that's where Herzog Transit Services Inc. comes in, that we operate passenger system, operate them, maintain them, dispatch them. So we tend to be, in our expansion, we're an extension of what we do. You know, our organic growth, to the point you call it organic, is because we see that next step to where we can go in and do something.
The growth of Herzog Transit Services from 1993 to where we sit today has been amazing. We started out with the one project, and as I sit here today, we have 12 projects. And the reason that we have 12 projects is because of the values that Bill Herzog instilled in the entire team.
In 2000, the railroad again came to us and asked for a better way for material distribution on the railroad, to move and distribute materials, pick up old scrap iron. Other than a car topper sitting on top of a gondola car, they wanted something that would be faster and more efficient. So we started looking at ways to gantry mount a crane, a backhoe, an excavator on top of some cars. We went out and purchased what they call a container consist, load-sided cars that shipping containers would set down in, modified that, put running rails on it, built a gantry, took the top half of an excavator, mounted it, and then get the operator down low enough that was closer to the ground, he could see what he was doing better, and he would be able to distribute material quicker or pick stuff up, clean up scrap with a magnet, or do different things much faster.
First few years, you know, we was only building one every so often, and now we're running, we've got 45 MPMs running. So. In 2008, we decided it was time to build a state-of-the-art railcar facility. It kind of evolved because of the ballast trains. We was building so many ballast trains, we needed more space. We do probably 90% of our business at this railcar shop here in St. Joe is our own ballast cars that we maintain, build, and we build our own equipment. We build our own MPMs there. The other, say, 10, 20% is outside customer cars for other private-owned car companies. Basically, it could be anything. It could be from a grain car to flatbed car, flats, anything. We just maintain them, do the running repairs, bring them in, do that, kick them back out. The existing plus trains, you know, they were more for maintenance. They would dump to the outside of the track. UP come to us and said, you know, we'd really like to use these, but for new construction, but we can't dump centers. You know, we need rock in the center as well in new construction. So we said, well, we can do that with these, but we have to manually switch all the linkage on them and make them dump to the inside. We can make every other car dump the inside, whatever. So we went out in Arizona with the UP. We did a demo with a plus train, changed everything over. They loved it. But we said, we'll make one. We think we can make one that can do this automatic. And so we went and we developed the smart train.
And the smart train come along, we've added sensors to the doors to know when there's rock unloading out of the cars. Gives us a much more capable of knowing what's going on and when. And we can respond to it. Again, we're trying to improve how accurate we are at crossings and switches and stuff and know what's going on.
I think we unload close to 75% of all the ballast that's on all the Class 1 railroads. It's unloaded. So.
In 2011, Herzog Technologies became the newest member of the family. Herzog Technology focuses on signal installation, communication, really the systems component. What HTI today is, it's a company that still does construction. We do maintenance properties on transit properties throughout the country. We are a leader in positive train control throughout the country. And through our empowerment of our R&D group, we have created some technology that we believe will transform the way the rail industry thinks about train control and the additional benefits of that can be derived out of the billions of dollars that are currently being invested in that platform. And one of the things that gives me such confidence in the future of our company is not only the way we embrace technology, but the way that we innovate. We have taken processes that for decades were manual processes. And we have figured out a way through innovation, through technology, and candidly, through empowering some really smart guys, understanding that they're going to make mistakes, and that's okay here. Sometimes we make mistakes, but that's how we learn. That's how we get better. Many of the things that we see coming that we're working on today, they will transform how the rail industry thinks about service.
A conveyor train is used to stockpile rock at road crossings, in sidings where they want large amounts of rock stockpiled for future developments. The railroad again came to us and said, we need a way to stockpile rock in curves. The present industry out there, nobody could unload in a curve. So we decided, okay, this is a project that we can take on, and we have developed our ACT unloading train, conveyor train, and it can unload in curves up to 13 degrees and in super elevation. It has no limits to where it can unload up to 2,000 tons an hour.
And we have reduced the size of the test equipment in our big trucks and put it into the Brutus size vehicle. It is designated for yard testing. The opportunity there is the little vehicle is more apt to be able to go down the multiple tracks in a rail yard without interfering with cars on either side of the tracks, and allowing the high production vehicles out on the main line to continue out on the main line finding defects to prevent derailments.
Our team of constructors and our team of Herzog Transit Services, which was all led by Al Landis and other of our project management people, very much in depth with the city of Kansas City, and I think are very highly appreciative of what we were able to bring to the table to help them build a successful starter system.
With the introduction of other technologies such as the Kansas City streetcar, there's a renaissance going on in America. People have a love for streetcars. They don't carry the masses that commuter rail and heavy rail technology does, but in its own way, it's a special niche in the transportation industry that is making a huge comeback. So we are now not just recognized as the commuter rail guys. We've expanded that to the point that people look at us and consider us for other projects that encompass a different technology. And I have never seen so much excitement generated because of the introduction of the streetcar. The people could not wait for this day.